Welcome to Strictly Marketing Talk Radio, the showcase for high-quality guests who provide high-quality marketing information. Here's your host, Kerry Heaps.
Welcome to the show. I am your host, Kerry Heaps, and we have got a fabulous show lined up for you today. I'm so excited to have our guest today is Alicia Nicole Waters. She's going to be joining us in just a moment. Just a little bit about Alicia. I have actually been on her platform and have co-hosted on her show, and also did a few training segments on her platform as well. So I'm very excited to have her joining us this morning. Alicia Nicole Waters, she is a cross-industries entrepreneur who is creating evolutionary, game-changing agendas through business marketing, evangelism in diverse industries, through intentional journals, planners, and trainers. She's the CEO of Alicia Waters Cross Industries International and uses the element of water as her self-brand. She's a cross-industries branding specialist, business marketing evangelist, cross-niche journalist, and she's an avid writer and author of 90-plus book publications. So we are so lucky to have her with us today. Before we get started in today's show, if you do have a question for Alicia or for myself, you are welcome to call into the show. Our dial-in number is toll-free. It's 888-GO-FOR-IT. 888-GO-FOR-IT is the dial-in number. If you don't want to call in, you're welcome to tweet your questions to us. My Twitter handle is at Kerry Heaps, and I will be glad to read your question on air as well. And a few quick announcements before we get started. Our segment on the basics of podcasting, which is actually something that we did on Alicia's platform, is in our blog. We have 3 segments. We've had a few more people ask questions about it. If you go to strictlymarketingmagazine.com and just scroll down to the blog, you're going to see some of the postings for it. There's a segment 1, segment 2, and segment 3. So we broke it up. All 3 are 30 minutes in length, so you can download it onto your phone or your computer and listen to it at any time. And we just go over the basics of podcasting. If you're looking at setting up a podcast for your business, we offer tons of tips and a variety of different information that you can choose to use or lose, whatever you feel would be best for your podcast, but they're on our blog, so you're welcome to go there and listen to that particular segment. It's been very popular, so I hope it's helping a lot of people. Also, too, our 30-day boot camp, we have turned into a virtual boot camp. And you can go to our website at strictlymarketingmagazine.com, click on the event tab, and that will take you to the registration page. The self-paced boot camp you can do in your own time. So what we typically cram into 30 days, you can take that and just do it within your own schedule. So if it's a 30-day commitment you can't do, the self-paced boot camp is the best. And you can do it at your own leisure, in your own time frame, and at your own pace. And we go over getting publicity. We help you find different publicity outlets that you can market your expertise to get featured as a speaker, either in written or verbal format, whether it's a podcast, radio show, blog, or even a printed publication. So we hope you will check that out. That's going to be an ongoing thing with us. So we're happy to have you join us, and we would love to see to it that you get tons of publicity for your business. And today's guest, Alicia Nicole Waters, we are going to be discussing marketing mindset, why your attitude plays such an important part, not just in your business, but in your marketing efforts and attracting the right type of clients to you. So I am really excited to welcome Alicia Nicole Waters to the show. Alicia, how are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much, Kerry, for this opportunity to be with you and your listeners today.
Oh, we are so excited to have you. It's been long overdue, and definitely love sharing the platform with you on your end as well, just with the educational segments we've done, and just even being on your show and being able to share content and different things that we have going on. So we're happy to have you on our show today. And this is an exciting topic, Alicia, the mindset. And it's been I think it's so timely because even the past few podcast interviews that I have been a guest on, fear and attitude have been in the air a lot, and just really just such a timely subject topic. So I'm excited to get your viewpoint on that. I know I told the listeners a little bit about you and about your background, but if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing a little bit more with everyone, let people know how you got started with your business.
Okay, certainly, I sure will, and thank you again for the opportunity. So I'll set the stage today by just sharing with the listeners a little bit about my background that actually started in 2007 after having my daughter, and I returned off of my maternity leave and went back to work just for a few months with a company where I served as a high-level senior sales manager. And I was planning to relocate from Huntsville, Alabama at the time to do sort of a lateral move with my job and to move to Phoenix, Arizona, and then serve in that same position. And I had all of my plans in place. You know how we make our plans, Kerry. Had all the plans in place. And then once I left, things began to shift, and I was guided to start preparing for the life strategist or life coaching industry. And so I started building my first small coaching and consulting practice in 2008, and it was called The Bridge Connection. And as I was preparing, I decided to fully launch that in 2009. And that particular business platform had a core focus for a niche for leadership transition for women and also spiritual entrepreneur development. And so my primary mission at that time was to help women in leadership roles connect to their true value and also their next levels of self through personal and inner game mastery, while also helping them to develop and advance their businesses. So once I got that practice up and going, I also started developing an additional business that was called Mini, M-I-N-I, Ways to Abundance. And it was considered to be sort of a twin service of the Bridge Connection, but it had a primary focus at that time for connecting emerging abundant leaders with their true inner abundance through inner game mastery. And now actually that service has now been sort of rebranded, and it's now a publishing platform that's training emerging abundant entrepreneurs. Also at the time, Kerry, I had media programs that supported both the Bridge Connection and Many Ways to Abundance. And so I was utilizing also my background of media communications and journalism. And what I discovered early on as it related to sales and marketing in this industry, it was a lot different than the traditional selling and, the high-level marketing that I was used to doing for other companies or leadership endeavors, as well as in ministry as well. So I was excellent, Kerry, at selling another's brand or vision. However, when it came to having to sell my own brand consistently, it was a totally different story. So I had to start up-leveling my marketing knowledge and to truly learn the ins and outs of what it would take to be effective for online and offline marketing to thrive and sustain in this type of industry. So this began for me another evolutionary process that led me a few years later to start actually launching an annex marketing platform in addition to my twin services that I called it at the time. And so I started teaching others what I had learned and also how to start making sort of the transition from the traditional job market form of marketing to now begin connecting with their marketing factor for being either a solo or conscious entrepreneur. And so as time progressed and in doing all of these things, by the year 2011, I had experienced several ups and downs in the coaching arena. And like most business owners do within the first 3 to 5 years, I even experienced burnout, and I started creating a series of health crises from that burnout. So I had to slow down and finally reconnect to my true purpose for being an entrepreneur and what that was going to look like, at that phase of the journey for me. And to be honest, I started feeling guided that I needed to start really taking my gift of writing to the next level and start becoming published. So I took a step and became published and published my first book, and then I went on to start teaching others how to do the same, and I helped several of my clients and others launch their entrepreneurship careers. And during that time, I was also being guided to start sort of phasing out of my traditional coaching practice to become a pioneer of a different type of entrepreneurship that would bring sort of a holistic approach of using pretty much all the areas of my personal, professional, educational, and spiritual journey. So I started operating, Kerry, in what I was calling at that time conscious multiplicity as an entrepreneur, which, of course, was not understood in the arena that has a paradigm of being focused primarily on one niche. So from late 2012 to early 2014, I came off the traditional entrepreneurial grid and began changing the rules for how I was going to show up and set a new industry standard. And so I was in my business cocoon, if you will, developing the next phases of who I was and how I was going to show up as a pioneer entrepreneur who could use all of my lifestyle and build several business platforms to facilitate this new leadership and entrepreneurial expression of what I call the total me empires, so that I could serve several niches with a common focus of transformation as a transformational cross-trainer for leaders. So I went through a lot of business rebranding and renovation, and I ended up closing out or sort of phasing out the bridge connection. And then I also gave pause on many ways to abundance. And then my company, Alicia Waters Cross Industries International, was birthed in 2013, which it is a cross-niche media communications and a cross-brand marketing training hub for helping entrepreneurs learn how to serve in diverse industries. And so to support that effort, Kerry, I began to also relaunch my journalism career and up-leveling my media brand in a way that would be a gateway into different industries through publishing intentional journal-style trainers to cross-train and also to add value to different industries, which this began to open up doors, speaking opportunities and training opportunities, and also high-level writing opportunities for multiple niches. And as you mentioned earlier in the introduction, I've published over 90 journal-style handbooks and workbook trainers and also mini-books. And I use those as business marketing evangelism tools for what I call sort of an entry with ease into other industries. And then also I have two other businesses. They're not cross-industries related. They're more niche-oriented, but they still allow me to fully show up using all of who I am, in those areas. But what I want to say also as we begin to focus on the topic for today is that these experiences have up-leveled me to learn how to market to various arenas. And, of course, they've developed my marketing mindset through Inner Game for practically any and everything. So I'm definitely ready to tackle this topic for today.
Definitely. And thank you so much for sharing with everyone, and myself included, because I've never really had a chance to hear your whole story, so to speak, of kind of how you got to where you are today. I mean, I've read about it, but not to hear you talk about it. So I'm glad that you shared that with everyone. And one common theme, though, the reason I always ask that of all of my guests, Alicia, is because I always find with being an entrepreneur, it's never a straight line. Like you said, we could make our plans and we think that we're going on one direction, and then something will happen that puts us on a different path, and it turns out to be for the best, whether it's a positive or negative experience. So thank you for sharing that. And I just want to share with everyone as well, because Alicia has written so much. She is a fabulous writer.
Oh, thank you.
One of the books that I really liked, which you co-authored with two other people, You May Be Excused, which has a second edition out, or the next edition, the next part of the series out. But fabulous book, definitely a great book for anybody in business for themselves. You should definitely pick it up. It's a quick read, but some great content in there. I want to talk about marketing mindset. What is your take on marketing mindset? Because I know you've got an opinion about this, and I want everybody to hear it.
Well, Kerry, there are several different levels of how we approach mindset, especially, from an entrepreneurial vantage point. However, for today, I'm going to sort of focus in on a core piece for this. See, I believe that, having the right marketing mindset is really vital to one's overall success as an entrepreneur, and this is non-negotiable, and I'm sure you can agree with this. And since marketing is the very vehicle that we use to communicate and to, connect with our target markets, then we must have the mentality and the perception about marketing. I mean, the mindset is the very foundation and the chief cornerstone to excelling at anything, and especially as it relates to business. So as marketers, we have to have the proper mental cultivation, okay, and the up levels at every phase of our entrepreneurial journey. Because I believe that the mindset is sort of the calibrator, and it sets the tone for your business, and that's something we're going to be focusing on today. Is really about how mindset and attitude sets the tone for your business. Because see, you are your empire, and your mindset, just like we learn in psychology, the subconscious mind is considered to be the seat of the soul, right? So having the right mindset as it relates to business and marketing is also considered the seat of the soul of who you are as an entrepreneur. So our mindset is what sets the pitch or sets the tone for our business. And this is no different than if you liken it to an orchestra, all right? So if your marketing mindset is off, then your whole entire business framework won't succeed long term. And Kerry, reason being, if you have everything in place and you're ready to go and you're ready to play full out in the business arena, yet you don't feel confident or competent in your marketing, then guess what? You won't start off on the right note, and the tone of your business endeavors will be off. So your marketing mindset has got to sort of be melodic. It has to be aligned. It truly has to be in sync in order for you to be most effective. So your marketing mindset, as I mentioned earlier, sort of like an orchestra. It must be harmonious in nature. There's just no getting around that. So if you want to be able to be most effective and to accomplish your highest mission, you have to have the right mindset. Otherwise, you will be playing off-key. And those who actually know what the rhythm is of business, because, Kerry, you can tell when someone is sort of off in what they're doing, even when they put their best efforts forward. Those who are familiar with how things work in the entrepreneurial arena, they will know it. Also, your target audience will know it. And you could lose opportunities for them to really know, like, and trust you, in a way that they really could if you were fully showing up in a higher mindset. So as it relates to, I'm sorry, Kerry, did you want to say something?
I was just going to interject there really quick because it's spot on what you're talking about. And, you talk about when people, that they can pick up on that. And I know people don't like this comparison, but I don't know any other way to paint a clearer picture. But people are like dogs. They can smell fear. And, if you're panicked, if you're upset about something, or if your day is off per se, or you have a really negative attitude, no matter what you try to do to cover that up, it's going to come through. Exactly. And people pick up on it. They really do. They pick up on that vibration, and your attitude, it can make or break you in business. I mean, there's just no other way to put it.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm so glad that you said that. Yeah, this is a topic I could go on really for days about because it's so layered. But I also want to say that, as it relates to entrepreneurs really trying to fully show up, they can have the right products and services, but if they're having even limiting beliefs about, who they are and what they offer, then this goes back to the mindset, and it will potentially sabotage them in the long run. And so we are the conductors, Kerry, of our mindset, and it's really up to us to really set the tone and sort of align the rhythm of really our mental reservoir. It's really up to us to take that authority so that we can serve at the highest level, serve ourselves and the ones that we are called to serve, so that we can operate fully from a place of authenticity, and not only that, was for the highest and best good to reach our target market. But going back to the monolic tones of what we set in entrepreneurship, you must be able to project the right sound quality to your market. So this starts with being willing to do the mental work and really stay on top of your mental marketing environment, all right? Because you have to constantly prepare your mindset. It's just like I would liken this to preparing for the Olympics, because you truly want to go for the goal in whatever it is that you do. So you want to prepare at the highest level. And one of the things that I would recommend off the top as it relates to mindset and truly setting the tone for your business is you've got to start creating a new marketing mindset plan. A lot of times people have their social media plans and their business plans in order, but do you have a mindset plan to help you stay, on the incline of inner game mastery as it relates to marketing? If you have limiting beliefs, it's time to start really creating a new story for the next phase of your marketing, all right? You've got to conduct your mindset to speak and project what is for your highest in marketing good, which is your marketing truth. Some of the ways, Kerry, that people can begin to really set up this type of framework for themselves is, as we know, enrolling accountability. Don't leave this to yourself. Enroll accountability for yourself so that you can really stay above the incline of really mastering your marketing game, because you have to be able to have that mindset in order to play full out as it relates to marketing. So also listening to maybe audios and videos or reading materials that are going to, help you up-level your marketing mindset are going to be most helpful. And then, of course, spending time with people who have a great marketing mindset. The company that you keep is extremely important to how your mental capacity plays out in the marketplace.
And, one thing that we've been talking about with the attitude, because obviously, I was going to ask you how important you think attitude is as it relates to marketing, because if I had to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it at an 11. But
I agree. I agree. Attitude, Kerry, attitude is everything, and it shows up in everything that we do. So if you don't have the right attitude, just like going back to mindset, if you don't have the right attitude, and especially as it relates to marketing, you're not going to get very far in business. So let's say if you have a negative attitude, people will notice it. Just like you mentioned earlier, the vibrations that we give out, the signals, people can pick up on it, and you will stand out just like a person, and excuse me for saying this, a person who's not bathed for maybe months, or hasn't brushed their teeth for 2 weeks. It really is that serious. So you begin to sort of reek a vibration that people are not going to be interested in. And even if you don't have a bad attitude, you could have a misaligned attitude that's really not serving, your highest and best good. And in return, you're going to get scattered results. So, again, if you're going to set the tone for your business with the right energy, and, again, as we're talking today about it relates to your mindset and having the right attitude, so you don't want your prospects saying, oh, they're setting the tone for their business, but I don't like the way that smells. They'll opt to offer you a bar of Tone soap instead of their business, because they really don't appreciate, the way that you're coming off. So, despite whatever efforts you're putting out there, if your attitude is not the best, then it's going to show up in everything that you do. And
Alicia,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you mind, for the listening audience purposes, just kind of share an example of like maybe somebody that you've dealt with in the past, or a story that you've heard that kind of fits into this tone? Because I think sometimes when people think about, my attitude, it's I have a good attitude, I'm just having a bad day, and then not realizing how that's coming across. Do you have an example you can kind of just share with everybody?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And instead of just isolating the situation, I'll actually talk about two different stories that are related. So I've had colleagues, so to speak, and one who also had become a client that would always speak very negative about their business and their marketing. And what I realized, Kerry, is that they were also doing this in their lifestyle, okay? So they were talking down about how their day would go, what's going on in their world, and it was translating into their business. And then also they despised their marketing. So having a bad attitude, first off, of anything that's dealing with your entrepreneurial journey is not going to get you anywhere. So when they weren't getting the results that they wanted, they were complaining, but yet they never made the direct correlation to how language and vibration and all of that, plays a part. So the expectation is that if you are sending out negative information or giving false information to the universe about what you want for your business, but then on another note, you're talking down about it, you're sending out two different signals, which means that even your target audience is going to be confused about who it is and what you're showing up to present to them. This all goes back to attitude. So if you find yourself talking not just about your business, but just about your life as a whole, when you have a bad attitude and you're speaking negative, that's producing the results that you're getting. So it's really time to sort of shift the way that you think, your perception. And even as it relates to your marketing, several of us don't like all the components that we do in marketing. We know that they have to be done. Is that correct, Kerry?
That's correct.
Yeah, but we have to change sort of how we think about it. And if there's something that we're not as strong in our marketing, then we can begin to sort of delegate that. So this is what I recommended to my client and also my colleague, is instead of focusing so much on what's not working for you, why don't you find where your strengths are and play to those to the point where your weaknesses, so to speak, become irrelevant by bringing someone else in to facilitate that for you. That way, that frees you up from the energy of continuing to think negative about whatever social media platform you're using, your email list, whatever the marketing dynamics are or platforms that you're using. When you change how you look at things, things change. And as Jim Rohn would say, that things get better by change and not by chance. So this is why it's important to examine the attitude as it relates to marketing. And as I mentioned earlier, discover how you can shift your perspective about the things that you dislike or the things that you don't even feel competent enough in. And go back to delegating. I'm a huge fan of that because it's going to help you to feel less stressful and also resentful. And that's a whole other topic of resenting your marketing.
It is, and definitely I see a lot of people that harbor that resentment, whether it's over a plan or again, going back to what you were talking about, you're saying one thing and then you're wanting another, and it's so conflicting, and it can be conflicting within both your results and so forth. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we do come back, a couple of the things that I want to talk about that you had focused a little bit more on, and I appreciate you sharing that example with us about, just to give people an idea of what we're talking about, just a small example, because there's a variety of different examples out there, definitely.
Absolutely.
But I definitely want to talk about some of the mistakes that you see people make when it comes to their marketing efforts as it relates to their mindset, because I think it's negativity, and I think fear plays into that. So that's, definitely something that we're going to talk about. We're going to take a quick break. If you do have a question for Alicia or for myself, you're welcome to call the show at 888-GO FOR IT, and we'll be back just after these messages.
Let's face it, no one likes to be on the phone. However, it's the most crucial part of any sales-related position. But we here at Knockout Marketing enjoy being on the phone and getting to speak with various businesses all over the country. Technology has allowed us to acquire talent from other areas that feel the same way about being on the phone as we do, all to help your business succeed in the process. We have a combined experience of 15 years of successful telemarketing in the business-to-business arena. Our agents are articulate, business-minded, and have worked in various industries. We are standing by to help you with your needs. To see if our service is right for you, Visit Appointment Setting by KnockoutMarketing.com for a free consultation or call us toll-free at 844-222-9740.
You've discovered TalkZone.com, the best in Internet talk radio.
TalkZone.com.
You're listening to Strictly Marketing Talk Radio with your host, Kerry Heaps.
And welcome back to Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. I'm your host, Kerry Heaps, and we are talking today with Alicia Nicole Waters about marketing mindset. And Alicia, just before the break, we talked a little bit about some of the mistakes and things that you see people make in their marketing efforts. I want to go back to the marketing mindset for a minute. Mm-hmm. What are a couple of mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making when it comes to their marketing efforts because of their mindset? It's off.
Oh, okay, totally, yes. Well, one of the things, there's several ways we can go with this, but I will start off by saying that normally I see sort of an unclear focus, and I too have had this in the past as it relates to marketing, and that certainly can affect your mindset. So when there's an unclear marketing focus and there's no real chief aim as it relates to defining clear and concise marketing goals, your marketing agenda will tend to be cluttered, and it lacks the simplicity that it needs in order for you to move forward. So this certainly can mess with your mindset because there's confusion. You don't sometimes know if you're coming or you're going because you're unclear about your message. And when you're unclear about your message, then certainly those whom you're trying to impact, they're not going to be clear about what it is that you offer and who it is that you represent. Another thing I see, Kerry, is when there's sort of this systematic approach where marketers are on autopilot and there's no real conscious effort, even as it relates to social media. There's a lot of posting randomly, just continuing to do things, and even when they don't see that they're getting the results, they don't actually step in to make the proper shifts in order to up-level that or tweak some things. They just continue. Another thing that I see, Kerry, is following cookie-cutter systems, and you and I have definitely had our share of conversations on this.
Yes.
And also a lack of consistency as it relates to marketing. Sometimes someone will start up a marketing campaign and they won't follow through. They won't execute effectively to bring it into completion. And then another area I'm going to say, and Kerry, you and I have definitely had our times of discussion on this and even a few segments, is when entrepreneurs and marketers are chasing what I call the guru Wizard of Oz and never truly tapping into their own unique factor as it relates to marketing. So that's a huge mistake when you're not able to know what your true authentic expression is as it relates to marketing. Another thing I mentioned earlier was about not knowing how to make the proper shifts in the business and the marketing dynamics so that entrepreneurs can achieve their present and next levels of success. So when this happens, they don't properly prepare what I call the marketing climate for every phase because they're often distracted with chasing all of the shiny objects, or what some call the shiny object syndrome. And when these efforts begin to yield less than what they expect, then they feel like a failure, which then leads to even more mindset work around marketing that sometimes really isn't unnecessary. It's really not necessary because it's been created simply because they haven't slowed down to figure out where do they make the shift, where do they need to tweak and not continue, to beat the drum of the same routine. There's several things I can go on about this. I also can talk about, there's just a lack of mastery as it relates to mastering maybe only one or two things that they do well. And then as one of your guests I heard a couple of weeks back talked about going deep with the process, finding one or two key areas and then going deep. If I had to use an example from my own personal experience, I love to use the speak to market path. And for me, that's primarily a focus on marketing through my radio program or using radio mastery and speaking in addition to using my publications as business marketing evangelism. So I do that and use those forms so that I can focus on just one or two key aspects that I can go deep with and be consistent with and become masters of those areas.
And I love that you shared those couple of things, because all of those are really, really, really good. And I just want to touch on each one. You know, definitely unclear focus, not knowing what your message is. Or what I find a lot of people like to do is they're not giving, it feeds into the other thing that you put in there, you know, not being consistent, that they're consistently, but they are consistently changing their message. You know, they feel like it's not working, or they're just not giving it enough time. And I've been guilty of that myself, not giving a certain marketing campaign enough time to really come to fruition. When we talk about timelines too, what do you typically recommend for people before they start saying, hey, this probably is not working for me? Do you think 6 months? Do you think a year? Like, what's your feedback on time?
Well, honestly, I really believe in giving a shot at certain processes for at least 90 days. I think monitoring them even in 30-day increments, if you can do it for at least 90 days and start to sort of amp up and get a few results from that, then I think you can continue to sort of evolve it to stretch a little bit beyond. But if it's going beyond sort of the 6-month period, I would definitely say let's return to focus on the chief aim of what it is that you're really trying to accomplish. In my transformational marketing segment, I normally talk about creating a rapid rollout results and what that looks like, and being able to ask yourself in the present moment, you know, what are the rapid results? Because sometimes, Kerry, we know your business needs some rapid results. It can't wait 6 months, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, so you have to ask yourself, you know, what are the rapid rollout results that you need right now? How can you transform your marketing agenda in the present? How can you become a transformational marketing alchemist? As we know, alchemists, they transform lead into gold. So sometimes when processes aren't working and you really need something that's going to accelerate your success, then you have to say, well, I need a rapid rollout result right now in order to catapult myself, you know, to the next level. And when you do this, this is producing a sense of consciousness into the marketing, which is really important because, as I mentioned before, Kerry, there's a lot of autopilot marketing and just no real conscious effort. That's why people aren't awake to see this isn't working, and they know it's not working, but they'll continue to keep going down that path. So going back to the question as it relates to the timeline, maybe tweaking what you do and trying it for at least 90 days. Be at least consistent with it for 90 days and then revisit it. If it's working for you some and you can amp it up and take it to the next level, then I would say, Kerry, you could give it maybe the 6 months. Anything after that, I would say we need to do something different.
Well, good. I'm glad that you gave us your feedback on that, because I think that that's so important to kind of give people an idea of timelines of what people are talking about, because I hear so many people talk about timelines, but yet they don't give examples of what's a decent timeline. So I'm glad that you shared that. You know, another thing that you talked about with like autopilot and the cookie cutter programs, which we've had tons of discussions about. One thing that I find too, Alicia, and maybe you can give some feedback on this, is that especially with your marketing, that is not something that, you know, everybody says, oh, I just want, you know, you see all these programs out there that people will talk about, oh, you know, buy into my system and it generates all these leads and you don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to participate in your own success. And I could not disagree with that statement any more than I could, you know, disagree with anything else. I mean, but it blows my mind how many people actually think that that's an okay thing. And the reality is, and, you know, last week's guest, Kelly Robbins, she was able to generate leads. You know, she shared a story about how she generated over 175 qualified leads, but yet she still had to participate in that. Those leads need to be called. They need to be nurtured. They need, you know, are they a good fit? Do they need to go somewhere else? What is your feedback on, you know, participating in the marketing?
Oh, well, you must. It's an absolute must. That's another area that's non-negotiable, and that's another mindset shift that has to be altered, if you will, if someone has that type of marketing mentality. If you believe that you can just set up your systems and they can just go for you and you don't have to actually participate in your success as a marketer, in the conscious entrepreneur arena, or solo entrepreneur arena, you are not going to make it. You have to be participant in your success. And Kerry, as you and I were talking on one of our radio webinars recently, is as it relates to speaking and marketing, that it's not enough for people to hire even PR firms or even have promotional ambassador teams to promote for them. As a marketer, as an entrepreneur or a speaker or leader, you have to participate in your success, and you have to be sort of the living, walking brand, because that's who you are. Every time you speak, you're marketing. When you're out in the marketplace or wherever you are marketing every time you communicate. You have to be participating in your success. If you are waiting for someone else to do it for you, well, good luck. And when you don't get the results that you want, don't cry about it, because you have not put in the time and the effort. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that if you're going to be effective in this new era of change and entrepreneurship, you have got to prepare yourself like you are in the Olympics, not like you're on the high school tryout team or T-ball. You have to prepare yourself like you are in the Olympics and go for the goal, which means no one can do for you what only you can do to get the results. If you hire a coach or a personal trainer, let's take for fitness or health, a personal trainer or a consultant can help you map out a plan, but yet they cannot make you eat correctly. They're not going to do the sit-ups and the crunches for you.
And they're not coming over to your house at 2 o'clock in the morning to pry out the ice cream out of your hands.
Exactly, right. And so this all relates to mindset, because, again, if you have the mindset or you have the attitude that or the wannabe diva complex in entrepreneurship, you're not going to last very long. And there are too many businesses that are opening and closing, and they're closing and shutting down when they actually don't have to. And I like, it was a memes, I believe, that you posted the other day. I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't remember exactly everything that it said. But basically, you were saying you're either going to work up or rust out, or something to that.
You either, I think it was you either work your way out or rust yourself out. Yeah,
exactly. Work your way up or rust yourself out. Right. So in being lazy, so to speak, and I am going to use that term. So if you're going to be lazy in your entrepreneurship and as it relates to marketing, if you have that mindset, then I would say to you, go and find something different to do, because it's not going to work in this arena. And this is an arena that's going to challenge you. It's going to evolve you to be the absolute best of who you are, so that you can show up effectively to serve others. There are multitudes of people out here who really need what entrepreneurs have to offer. But if those same entrepreneurs who are being called to serve at the highest level are not willing to do what it takes to transform their mind and set the tone for their business, then, yeah, they need to go and do something different, because this is a totally different game of changing lives, and it needs to really be taken serious. And starting with the mindset and the attitudes that we have are going to help produce the results and the change and transformation, not only for ourselves, but for the world at large, too. Kerry, you get me on the soapbox here.
I know. You get going, and it's like you're sharing such great information. And that's, like I said, this was such an important topic to share and talk about. And you brought up about the positive little quotes and things like that. And we've been making a habit of posting those where they go out every morning. And I do that for two reasons. Number one, because I want people to read it and set the tone for their day. But also, too, it actually has a lot to do with marketing, because, again, for those people who are in sales who follow us, that, or follow the magazine, that they're in sales or, they're entrepreneurs, and you have to wear that sales and marketing cap, whether you want to do it or not. It sets the tone for the whole day. So I hope that, and those messages, that's one of the things that seems to get shared the most out of everything, which I think is great. So we continue to do that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. This kind of feeds into my next question for you, Alicia, is we've talked about, which I'm not crazy about the term, I've never liked it, but being authentic. Whereas I would like to say, just keep it real, just be yourself. So if you can share some feedback on that, just as it relates to your marketing mindset, because, some people, like I'll use myself as an example, For the most part, I'm a very outgoing person. I am positive in nature, but I'm not one of those people that's going to sugarcoat things for people. And, that does come out in our marketing, because if you are looking for somebody to hold your hand and tell you everything's going to be great and sing to you and tuck you in at night, I'm not your girl. You need to find someone else to work with. Exactly. I'm more or less, I'm the person that's going to kick you in the butt and say, get to work. So talking about being authentic, because I did that, and it hurt my marketing efforts, because I actually had someone tell me, you're being too rough around the edges. You need to be more, as they put it, feminine.
No,
or
you have to be yourself. You have to
softer. You do. Well, what I was going to say was, I did change my marketing efforts for a year. I attracted horrific clients, people that I should not have attracted, and it really backfired. So, talk a little bit about being authentic with your marketing efforts and your marketing mindset and how that should all play out.
Okay, certainly. And I will preface that before I go there. As you mentioned about you were kind of rough around the edges, and sometimes, there are people who need someone to sort of boot them out of their comfort zone. And when you're working with a trainer or a specific coach, they're designed to help get you out of your comfort zone, and it's not supposed to feel warm and fuzzy to you, because it is more like a workout. If you want to get toned, you want to get buffed, then you're going to have to do some things, and you're going to have to cross-train. I have a saying, and I say it in love. I'm going to say this and suggest this. You may not like it. It could hurt your feelings just a little bit, but you'll be all right after the swelling goes down. So, and that may sound harsh, but at the same time, it is helping people to really get out of their comfort zone and to do the things that they need to do. So as it relates to being authentic, so authenticity, rather, is one of those common words that's used very loosely in the business arena, Kerry, and I know, we've had conversations about this. And unfortunately, most don't truly understand what it means to be authentic and to keep it real. Do you agree, Kerry?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. And I think it's, there's been so many people that have really built out a niche market just on that term alone. And, again, I don't like the term. I always compare it to, because when I first heard the word authentic is years ago, for the people who can remember this, ragu, the spaghetti sauce. If you remember that commercial, 26 authentic herbs and spices go into every jar. Well, that's when I think of authentic, I want to either, hand them a coupon so they can buy a jar of ragu at 30 cents off, or it drives me crazy, because most of the people who talk about it have turned it into something completely different.
Completely different. No, I agree. And here's the deal. See, if you don't know who you are and you haven't effectively embodied, I would like to say, self-mastery on a certain level, then you can't possibly know how to show up authentically or keep it real, because you haven't become real with yourself. So being authentic in your business and in your marketing has to start long before you set up a plan or you try to execute strategies. As I mentioned earlier, if you are not authentically being who you are in your everyday life in general, then you will not succeed at being authentic in your business, because it all ties together. And, I hear several teach on this subject, and Kerry, again, we have multiple conversations about this, several that teach on this topic about being your true authentic self. But then they will turn right around and provide you with a cookie-cutter model that tells you to do exactly what they did to get the results, instead of teaching you how to access your own unique factor. And sure, can we take concepts from people and model it in our own authenticity? We can. However, it's still going to go back to first knowing your true authentic self, as a person and as a professional. And as it relates to mindset, you have to embody the mindset that you need to show up in your own authenticity, but you have to be real. Sure, can you tweak certain things about your personality so that you can be attractive to your audience? Absolutely. But you want to be careful that you don't become something that you're not. So I have a lot of different dynamics to my personality, which can be very warm, very kind, very sweet. When I get into a certain level of trainer mode, depending where the dynamics are going, then I have often had to get over my own personal people's strongholds and say, well, this is not a time that I'm choosing to be liked if I really want to help someone get their transformation. In the process, they may not really appreciate it, but in the long term, they will, and they will thank me, and it never fails. So even as you related to changing who you were, of being sort of a little rough around the edges, and someone said to, integrate or incorporate more of your feminine approach. But if you were doing that in a way that was not going to be aligned and congruent with who you are, then look at the results. You ended up attracting clients that were then going to actually sort of run the show for you, and you would have to keep shifting them. Then if you stood in your authentic place of power of who you are organically at the core, how you're oriented, then different results. And I've had, the same happen for me. But I would also like to sort of offer on that note, Kerry, a powerful question that your listeners can ask themselves. So as it relates to marketing and the mindset and lifestyle in general pertaining to authenticity, they can ask themselves, what areas in my marketing or lifestyle need to be authenticated more? I mean, that's a powerful question. When you don't know, am I showing up authentic? Am I truly being myself or keeping it real? What are the areas in your marketing or in your lifestyle that you need to authenticate more? Another thing, Kerry, that I've definitely been guilty of in the past is, as it relates to being authentic, is sometimes we're hiding out, and we sometimes don't even realize that we're hiding, or we're still wearing a mask, so to speak, because we're so concerned about what the marketplace is going to think about if we choose to do something different. And when we're choosing to do something different and it's not received, then we start trying to tweak what we do to still fit a certain model, and that within itself is not really fully being authentic. So it's really time to get real with who you are, why you're here to serve the purpose, and what it is that you really want out of life and out of business. That is a mindset up level and a shift that really has to be embodied, for sure.
And I'm so glad that you brought that up and you were talking about that, because it's such an important component of, marketing. Mm-hmm. And I think that when, and even I look at people who are sales reps who, you can tell that they're holding something back with their personality. And it could be that they have more of I don't want to say an aggressive streak, but they're more of a type A personality. But someone's told them to hold that back. Yeah. And I think, it does hurt them in the long run, because if you have more of a stronger personality, and you're holding it back, and you bring someone on board that has a personality that's not going to mesh well with that, it's going to come to a head at some point. And usually what happens is it really can backfire in the long run, because you wind up losing them as a client or firing them because it's not a good fit, and then you have someone who's not happy at that point. Right. So definitely. Win-win. It's not. And like I said, and I've learned that the hard way. I know you have too. And I think it's such an important conversation to have with people while they're, listening to the show. And Alicia, you shared just so much great content so far already. I want to ask you, and this is a hard question, but I like to ask everybody this. If you could only offer one piece of advice about marketing and as it pertains to the mindset, what would it be and why?
Okay. Well, I'm going to speak to this from a cross-industries vantage point because it was a mindset shift that I had to make, is not to put limits on yourself as a marketer. Don't limit yourself to only serve in one arena. There are other industries who are missing out on what you have to offer, and the reason why I bring this up is because I see so many entrepreneurs put limits on themselves as it relates to their income and their impact. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go and serve in arenas that won't be a good fit for you, but what I am recommending is that you discover maybe a creative way to take what you already do and repurpose or sort of reframe it to possibly serve and add value to those outside of your traditional niche market. But regardless of whatever you do, or not, is this you always have to be prepared to serve at the highest level and just be open to change and expansion. So I would definitely say be limitless at this point. and be open to change.
And that's some very, very good advice. And I would just say, too, just with being open to change, you know, and I think so many people think this, too. They think during that course of the plan, because things never turn out like we think they're going to, you know, and you have to tweak it or you have to make some changes. It's not a failure. And I think a lot of people look at that with their marketing efforts that, oh, this must be a failure, but it's not. Sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking one little thing, and it could be the terminology you're using. It could be the way that the ad is laid out. It could be one tiny little thing, and that's what makes, you know, at that point, then, wow, you start seeing a huge shift in how things are working out. So don't look at it as, you know, as a failure. And definitely just some great things that you've shared today. And I'm just so glad that we were finally able to get you on my show to talk about such a great topic. And it is just so important. And just kind of in closing, Alicia, anything else that you'd kind of like to share in closing on the topic?
Oh, sure. I would definitely like to send an encouragement for your listeners to fully show up and be who you are, you know, as a unique expression. And as Kerry and I have been sharing in dialogue today, you see different variations of our personalities that come out, and we use that in business as well. But we're fully being who we are and not ashamed of that. And I think it's really time that the mindset that has to be really up-leveled is for you to truly, as Kerry said, get real. If you want to abandon the term of being authentic, just be fully you. I show up as the total me empires. I bring all of it to the table, and I use it at different stages in various forms, and that's how I'm able to effectively transform and reach different industries. And I believe that all of us are here to really serve at a higher level, but it starts with the renewance of your mind. You renew your mind first and be open to infinite possibilities of what can happen for you at this stage in your entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And just anything, we do have a link to your site right now, Alicia, on the page, the show page. Any upcoming events or announcements you'd like to share with the listening audience in closing?
Sure. I would actually like to invite people to connect with myself and also you, Kerry, in our Facebook New Era Marketing Exposure Evolution group. And that is a community for purpose-driven entrepreneurs who are really ready to be prepared at the highest level so that they can be ready for the media and marketing exposure that they want to represent in this coming year. I would also like to invite others to tune in to my two online radio training platforms, the Cross-Niche Journalist Marketing Training Radio and the Cross-Niche Media Communications Training Radio, and those are all on Blog Talk, where you can find more information about those at www.aliciawaterscrossindustries.com.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Alicia. It was a great pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Kerry. It was my honor. So glad we got to finally do this. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
And you can learn more about Alicia. You can go directly to her website. Just click on the link that we have in the show notes page. And we are so glad that you were able to join us today. We hope you can tune in next week. And as always, we are wishing you continued success.